Boy, do we have a lot of UFO news to go over today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider becoming a channel member. See the first link in the description below. Okay, let's just get right to it. Ross Coulthart is tweeting about this article here from fairobserver.com. So let's check out this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's get to the little section here. The introductory sections of the Act talking about the NDAA and the Schumer-Rounds Amendment. The introductory sections hit you like an express train. Section 9002 states that legislation is necessary because credible government and testimony indicates that federal government U.A.P. records exist and have not been declassified or subject to mandatory declassification review. The Act provides for the disclosure of technologies of unknown origin and evidence of non-human intelligence. Just pause for a minute. If Congress legislated for hobgoblins, dwarves, hobbits, dragons, and orcs, you would think that it had lost the plot, right? By inference, it must have seen evidence in relation to the existence of these hobgoblins, etc. Can you see where this is heading? To emphasize the point, word searches for U.A.P. tally 169 counts in the bill's text and references to non-human tally 26. Yeah, so Congress knows some stuff. You know, they haven't clued us in on what they know. We can only presume that this is all coming out of David Grusch's information and that they have seen, they may have seen the bodies, literally. So, or the live beings for all we know, right? Baggage and all. But Congress knows some stuff, and it's a good article, and I will link to it in the description. And thank you, Ross, for the heads up. Meanwhile, David Grusch is challenging Neil deGrasse Tyson to a debate. I love it. Neil deGrasse Tyson has just made a point about how UFOs only show up at government facilities, and David Grusch is responding to that and then challenging him. I love it. Let's see what he has to say. Sorry for the small picture.
It's an observer and collection bias issue where you have all the eyeballs and all the sensors in those areas.
Sure, that's a good point.
If you were to do an activity-based intelligence across the globe, if we actually could have an open and honest kind of collection system,
yeah,
I think we'd probably see some hot spots that don't even make any sense. I don't like throwing shade, but like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's made up his mind. I've read his tweets, and I'm like, dude, you have a PhD in physics? Where's your curiosity? I can't even believe.
Yeah. There's no evidence that would convince an authentic skeptic.
I have credentials too, and I'm happy to go toe-to-toe with you. Yeah, if he wants to debate me, I'd be fine with that.
Let's do it.
Yes, let's make this happen. Let's make this debate happen between David Grusch, who says he has credentials, and he wants to go toe-to-toe with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think we need to make this a thing. Meanwhile, Emily Trim, one of the experiencers at the aerial school in Zimbabwe in 1994, is now speaking out, and she has some really interesting stuff to share, including ongoing experiences and the overall message that the beings were giving her. And that was that there was a good way and a wrong way to use technology, which is interesting, and it definitely dovetails with a lot of what they have told various experiencers over the years. This is subtitled. Hopefully my big head won't block it because the audio isn't great. Let me just see if I can...
Have you had any other experience with the same being?
I don't know if it's the exact same being, but all that I can say is that.
Yes.
So when you're talking about like the time, for me, it's like an energy that's all around us that is causing time, I guess, to stop at that point and feel the frozen and like the stones are not able to move.
Could you explain what the other beings that have been coming to her, as far as you know, look
You
like?
mean like my other experience?
Yes, yes.
I'll just say that they can alter perception, so they can change to make you almost feel a bit more comfortable. chat anything?
Yeah,
It's the last encounter, there were grays, I guess, and face that went back and forth between a being and a lion.
A lion, that's crazy. Now, many experiencers do encounter lion beings or lion people or cat people. The Nordics can often look like cat people, or just slightly off human, or just slightly cat-like features, or they can shift forms. Are those actually the Greys just appearing like that? What do you guys think is going on if indeed the Greys can appear as lions or lion people? I don't know specifically what she saw. She doesn't go into any detail. Was it just a lion, or was it a lion person? That is just really fascinating. I have never heard that before. Many people encounter the whatever you call them, the various lion people that are out there, the Lyrans and so on. But I've never heard them associated with the Greys. They usually seem to be opposed to the Greys. So that is really interesting, and I would love more information about that. That could be really important as far as figuring this out and what factions are what. Meanwhile, this teacher is saying that her school gave her alien invasion protocols. What? There's music, so I can't play the sound, but here we go. Okay, that's insane. I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's a juicy story. Whether she's making it up or not, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. Meanwhile, this older interview with Deep Prasad, between Deep Prasad and George Knapp, has been making the rounds. Deep Prasad, of course, is the well-known quantum computer guru, and he has had really interesting experiences with beings. And here he is describing one really amazing encounter. It's 5 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I definitely encourage you to go seek it out. But here's just a little nugget of it.
The weirdest part, one of the weirdest parts about this is that I felt like I knew that I'm about to go through an experience, and I'm even going to call it an abduction because that's the best word that my brain can come up with. This all came to me within half a second, or maybe milliseconds. And then I realized that I couldn't even move, and I started freaking out. That's never happened to me before, like while being consciously awake, and suddenly you just can't do anything. It was terrifying. I scanned the room just with my eyes for like I did about 2 scans, and then by the time I get to my 3rd scan, I see this shimmering object. It's a white outline with like these big black eyes. And initially, like I thought like this can't be real. Suddenly, it became completely solid, completely materialized. And I see this being. It's about 3 to 4 feet tall. Its head is massive. Like probably the head alone was about a foot. Very like robotic looking. The whole thing that it was wearing was like one uniform Snow White spacesuit. Like it was very pure white with like this golden insignia in the middle that was constantly changing colors. Sorry, not changing colors, changing symbols. And so that was weird in itself. And suddenly 2 other beings materialized the same exact way right next to it. And I figured, all right, if I look away, these things are going to be gone. Like I'm dreaming this or something. And I looked around and I like looked back, and now they're just walking around my room like they own the room. And I was terrified. I was like terrified and fascinated because I was like, holy crap, these things are real. So I moved my neck a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to let you watch the full interview, but he describes this ship or something superimposed over the reality of his room, which is not the first time I've heard that. It's a really crazy experience where this object can be, again, just superimposed over a room, and it's unclear if, that's a projected memory, if you're actually being taken onto their ship and they're just giving you an image of the room to make you at peace, or if it truly is coming into our reality and merging with it in some way without actually knocking out the walls. It's crazy. Anyway, but a really great interview. I love Prasad and his experiences and his guts for coming out and talking about them. But his talk of the insignia that this being had makes me think of Chris Bledsoe. Chris Bledsoe saw a being that had a triangular symbol that his government contacts, he's in touch with people at NASA and the CIA, knew about. That was a thing that they knew about, this triangular symbol. So I wonder if one of the forms that this insignia took that Deep Prasad saw was a triangle. Meanwhile, talking about Chris Bledsoe, he is associated most famously with the lady who may or may not be the goddess Hathor. She manifested to him for the first time as a bull, and at one point he was flown over the temple of Hathor. But he also says she may be Mary. We don't really know. She may be an aspect or a representation of the divine feminine, and it may not, it could go, it could be Mary, it could be Hathor, whatever. But it is really interesting because L. Ron Hubbard apparently was a devotee of Hathor. I did not know this. This is new information for me, and I suspect to you guys. But John Attack will explain it to us. Let's listen.
Creating Scientology, Hubbard was absorbed by the beliefs and magical practices of Aleister Crowley. He recommended a Crowley text to his followers and referred to the great beast as his very good friend. In Hubbard's private papers, there are magical rituals and comments which show that he was privately devoted to the goddess Hathor, who has two aspects. She is pictured as a cow, which feeds humanity, but she is also a devouring goddess, who, like Kali, feasts on human blood. This essential contradiction runs through Scientology, making it a psychological or spiritual equivalent of the Thuggees. Before creating Scientology,
that's really interesting. Of course, L. Ron Hubbard and his buddy Jack Parsons were disciples of Aleister Crowley, like actual legit, disciples. They knew him. He was their teacher. And, Jack Parsons would go on to be one of the founders of NASA. And L. Ron Hubbard would go off to create his own religion. And apparently the threads of Hathor were woven into that religion. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. It's a crazy story. They were doing magic rituals, sex magic. They did all sorts of crazy stuff until L. Ron took off with Jack Parsons' wife, and then that was it for their friendship. I don't know what to make of this. Was there an actual entity that L. Ron Hubbard was associated with or familiar with or in contact with that was something akin to Hathor or was Hathor? Could he have been in contact with the lady? I would love more information on that. That again, seems like an important wrinkle in all of this. Meanwhile, I just have to call out this unfair attack by the Washington Spectator. Listen, UFO tales and witness credibility falling apart after congressional hearings. In the wake of the July 26 congressional hearings on U.A.P., the claims of alien visitations and secret government crash retrieval programs remain unproven, while questions about the credibility of the witnesses and the political motives of their patrons in Congress have fueled increasing public skepticism. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I often will share articles that are favorable to the UFO topic, and I think that's very encouraging. But it's important to know that it doesn't all swing that way. There are still negative hit pieces being done on David Grusch and the UFO phenomenon in general. Meanwhile, Air Force veterans are up in arms over being exposed to radiation and having lifelong health effects for them and their children for being stationed at and near Area 51. And they are, demanding recompense for this. And it is really sad because the government, saying, oh, they're denying, all of this exists, and they're denying these people's claims, and they're trying to get recompense for this very important issue. So let's give a listen.
And I know you say you have faced some serious health challenges after working at that test range. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
So my experience was I was stationed out there from 83 to 87. And that my personal health issues are things like tumors. I have bad lungs. I have something called silicosis, which means scarring of my lungs from inhaling radioactive dust. All of my kids have issues. They have birth defects and things that can be directly traced to it. And through conversations, we started finding out from the other guys that this is common. And now we look at it, and a significant number, it's anecdotal, but over half of the guys have either got serious health issues or have died that have been stationed out there.
I'm so sorry to hear that, and I'm so sorry to hear about how this has impacted you and you say your family as well. Do you know what you were exposed to while working on that site?
Yeah, the primary thing was plutonium-239, which from the testing, because the testing was within visual range right outside the front gate of where we work. And then there was uranium, depleted uranium, beryllium, and all kinds of other stuff from things that they've done out there since World War II. I'm proud. Everybody who worked out there is proud of what we did. What we did was unique. It was incredible. But it's not okay to send people out there knowing what you're going to do to them and then ignore them using the veil of secrecy to say, well, now we don't have to take care of you because you were never there. It's not okay. It's not okay that my kid has neurofibromatosis. Those aren't okay things. If you're going to do something, at least step up and be responsible.
That is not right. That is sad. That is scary. That is frustrating that the government would do such a thing. And I hope very much that these veterans and their families are able to get this recompense. In lighter news, well, this isn't news. I just think this is really cool. Some concert. Is that Burning Man? I have no idea what that is, but I just thought it was really cool. Look at that. That's badass. That's badass. Love it. Now that's a party. Okay, guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. If you could share this video on Facebook or Twitter, that would be super helpful. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider becoming a channel member. See the first link in the description below. Channel members are rock stars. I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.